This is a free masterclass on what time is. But before we talk about time, we must first talk about that which perceives time, that which conceives time, which is the mind. The mind conceptualizes its experience as time because it relies on something to be consistent within its experience. Now, you would say that things will happen because you rely on this thing called time, this run of time, this imaginary run of time. So if you are sitting down, you would say that with time, you will stand up and then go somewhere else. That took time. But really, all we are experiencing is now. Change does take place. Change is a real experience. But if we only experience now, and change is a real experience, then doesn't it follow that we are experiencing an ever-changing now? Of course, that's what's actually happening. But why is this? Let's go into this. The reason that we experience an ever-changing now is because the mind, due to its limits as a form of consciousness, can only experience so much of the infinite consciousness source that it is. It can't inherit all of infinity, otherwise it would be infinite itself. It has to perceive fragments of its nature as pure consciousness. So that's one reason that it sees things as change, for one, and also as time. But what it's relying on to be present for the change to take place isn't actually this thing called time. What you are actually relying on is the changeless source that is the pure consciousness. That's what you're actually relying on for change to take place, not time. You're relying on that pure consciousness to be present, and it is present. It's that awareness of change. And then what mind does is it superimposes, it places upon the experience this idea that comes later called time. Change will happen no matter whether we conceptualize time or not. So time isn't the truth of reality of the mind. It's a conception only. A convenient one, of course, for certain ways of living in our reality, in our society, rather. But as you know, we even push time forward and back, or clocks, I should say, in some countries. So that's the illusion of time. Okay? So again, just to make it clear, the reason that it seems as though you can rely on the so-called future of consistency, of you moving from one time, so to speak, to another time, is that you are relying on that which is consistent, not time, but the source of the mind, the source of the experience. For example, if you was to just run your finger across a sheet of paper, you can see the whole sheet of paper. You would have complete trust that your finger will keep touching the paper, okay, as you roll or run your finger over it, okay, because it's the background of the movement. It's the source of the movement, you could say, of the experience that you're trying to have. Without that paper, you can't have that experience. Okay, so that sheet of paper that is there for your finger to run across, that you can rely on, is like the source of the mind. It's always there, ready for change to take place. So that's what the mind is relying on. I'm not sure if there's anything else I really need to say to explain to you what time truly is. It's a mental perception. It exists as time as going forward due to the mind's ability or incapability of perceiving infinity. So it fragments infinity, seemingly, as snapshots. It relies on the source of itself for that confidence that something will change, which is the changeless consciousness. And you can know that consciousness is changeless because for you to say that change happened, there would have to be a contrast of something being and then changing, right? For you to witness the change, then you must be that changeless observer, reporter of the change. How else could you know change took place? Which is the same for your body, the same for your mind, as in your thoughts. You are the changeless nature of change. You as pure infinite consciousness, not your persona. Of course, that changes. That's the content of experience. But the experiencer, pure infinite consciousness, that does not change. It just is what it is. It isn't a thing to change, to mold. What else is there to say about time? I think that's it. I'll try and say it again in like conclusion. Time is how the mind conceives infinity. The trust that the mind has that things will change is not on time, which is its concept. The trust is on the background or source of itself, which is that pure changeless consciousness, the background of it. Because it's so sure as an expression of consciousness, therefore having the knowledge of the nature of consciousness, so sure that consciousness will be there, the change in experience can be a 100% belief that it will happen. And then of course again it conceptualizes it as time. Oh, time happened, change happened on or within that pure infinite changeless consciousness. Hello B. Have a wonderful day or evening, my fellow expressions of consciousness.